And now, the general weather around Alaska.
First up, hazardous weather graphic. There's a wind advisory out for the Alaska Range here in this area. It goes into effect at 6 p.m. this evening and stays in effect through tomorrow night until 10 a.m. September 5th. And from there, looking at satellite imagery, you can see a lot of clouds up here in the north, bringing some pretty good rain overnight last night and earlier today to the north slope. That all shifting eastward here. Not too much south of the Alaska Range, though. And this big storm coming up, spreading clouds into Kodiak Island, also into the eastern North Gulf Coast there, where there was a few showers today with the heavier rain back to the west there. And trying to break out here over south central Alaska. Still some isolated showers, but pretty much a drier day than what we've seen lately. And front pushing into the west coast there, slowly kind of rotating northward, bringing areas of rain and gusty south winds from Nunivak Island right on up into the Chukchi Sea. And another system here pushing eastward, bringing about a third of an inch of rain to the Pribilof Islands today, extending down to the eastern Aleutians, and then clouds along and just north of the Aleutian chain there. And on the surface map here, we've got low pressure there over the western Bering Sea, west central Bering there, with the front down, bringing rain into the Atka area, spreading in toward the eastern Aleutians. Periods of rain, gusty winds to the Pribilof Islands, and that pattern extending all the way up across St. Lawrence Island. Rain this afternoon at Nome, into the Bering Strait, all the way up to the western Arctic coast there. As this area of moisture, that low up in the Arctic, kicks off to the east, anywhere from a quarter to a half inch of rain falling in areas of the north slope. Some areas even had over an inch. That starting to taper off now. Dry over the interior with a fair amount of clearing occurring with high pressure centered right over the, or just west of Tanana there, around the Galena area. Isolated showers over Prince William Sound, but looking at a drier day today with variably cloudy skies to partly sunny conditions for Cook Inlet and the Manauskan-Susitna valleys up into the Tanana Valley. A little bit of light rain trying to show up along the coast there, otherwise just leftover lingering showers, bringing some very light precipitation amounts to the Panhandle. Rain and wind bearing down in Kodiak Island. That'll continue tonight. Look for gale force winds with rain heavy at times. That'll be pushing northward to the North Gulf Coast later tonight, and increasing chances of some light rain with that warm front, say from Port Alexander, likely Sitka, eastward in toward Petersburg and Wrangell, maybe to Juneau. Dry to the south, dry up toward Haines to Skagway. Dry in the interior here, looking again for those winds, as I mentioned, increasing through the Alaska Range. Also, actually, the Alaska Range southward, winds are going to be increasing quite a bit with the gale force winds, again, showing up actually from the eastern North Gulf Coast late tonight, extending westward into the Barren Islands. And by tomorrow, we're going to be seeing gale force winds in southern Cook Inlet, all the way down to the Barren Island areas, as well as the North Gulf Coast to the north coast of the Panhandle. And small craft advisories farther to the south there, with high pressure holding, keeping it dry over much of the southeast coast. Again, Port Alexander up to about Juneau, north and northwestward, with pretty good rain into Yakutat. Still wet for Kodiak, but wind's starting to come down now as that low center pulls northward and gets close to the island there. Dry over the interior with those gusty winds through the passes of the Alaska Range, and looks pretty dry with some clearing all the way up to the central and eastern Arctic coast. Just a risk of some light rain. Still a little breezy there at Point Hope and Cape Lisburne, and it looks like a general area of rain continuing over the eastern Bering Sea, pushing into Norton Sound, the southern Seward Peninsula, all the way down into Bristol Bay now as the moisture with this system links up with this one. So just looking at a general area of rain through this region. Showers for the eastern Aleutians to the Pribilof Islands, drying out Adak and Atka, and most of this shower activity staying north of the western Aleutians. For the day on Thursday, pretty dry out here to the west now with just weak high pressure and a lack of storminess. Still some showers for the eastern Aleutians, maybe the Pribilofs with northwest winds getting a little gusty there, west northwesterlies. And showers more numerous over Bristol Bay, and that develops into just a general area of rain here for south central Alaska, the North Gulf Coast areas. southern Copper River Basin, still some gusty winds on the Copper Valley there, could gust 35 miles an hour or so, but winds will be coming down for the Alaska Range with dry conditions. A couple of dry days coming up, not too bad for the interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast. And still a thing up here keeping a chance of light rain or showers, say from Wainwright down to Point Lay, maybe as far south as Kivalina along the coast there. Better chance of into the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island. And some showers possible for the southern panhandle, and light rain up to the north. And as I mentioned, still wet for the North Gulf Coast. And moving on to temperatures, lows for tonight. Actually, the two Wednesday morning lows, right around freezing here, North Waytoke up to Eagle, Chicken in those areas. Otherwise in the 30s, warming into the 40s as you head west, lower 50s. South central Alaska to Kodiak Island and Bristol Bay, upper 40s, lower 50s for the Panhandle, and 40s for the Bering Sea. Highs tomorrow, upper 40s to lower 50s out here for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Highs in the mid-60s for portions of the Tanana Valley over toward Eagle up to Fort Yukon, and mild for the North Slope and Arctic coast. Highs 50s, maybe even some lower 60s. Mid-60s for the McGrath-Nikolai area, and mid to upper 60s possible here over the southern southeast coast. Otherwise, lower 50s for the Aleutians. And lows a little milder there for the Panhandle, 50 to 55 over the central and southern areas. Well, actually the entire stretch of the way there in the lower to mid 50s. 40s across much of interior Alaska, upper 30s for the Brooks Range, and lower 40s for the Arctic coast and North Slope, and 40s all the way out over the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. And highs Thursday afternoon, another nice day up here, pushing towards 70 for the Fairbanks area. Otherwise 65 to 70, call it here for the entire east side north of the Alaska Range. And for the areas south of the Alaska Range, 55 to 60 for the highs, and upper 50s, lower 60s for the southeast coast, and 50s for the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s for the St. Lawrence Island area.